All right, so welcome everyone to our sponsor and coach training. I'm going to go through an overview for this first part here, and then we're going to split into two sections, one for the sponsors and then one for the coaches that we'll take. So I'll cover the overview now and move on to those other pieces next. The main reason that we have you all come together is because we want to give you an opportunity to learn first and foremost more about senior design and what we do, how it works, what the processes are, who's involved, and then also give you a chance to collaborate with your peers as well, the people that are involved in it. So hopefully you had some time to chat with others at your table, learn a little bit about why they're here and what they're doing and what projects they're on. So create some environment to learn about everything. We are going to go over the software senior design program first, get you some general information on that. We'll take a short break then right before 2 o'clock. Maybe not take that long, I don't know, we'll see. And then we'll go and split into those separate sections. This is kind of informal. I know I'm mic'd up and stuff, and we're videoing it so that your colleagues that aren't here can watch this and learn as well. But it is meant to be a little bit informal, so if you have questions, ask them. I'd hate for you to have a question and wait and then forget about it and then not get it asked sometime before you leave today. So if you have questions, be sure to ask them. That's fine. We can do that. And yeah. Any questions to start? Very good. All right, so I'm going to talk about senior design as a whole and kind of the roles and responsibilities and overview of the system. First, I'm going to talk about what we're doing. It's a really project-centered education. That's what we're all about. Is we're trying to take and give all the students a chance to learn via projects, and so we focus a lot on helping our projects be successful. That's really mainly trying to deliver some solutions that can have an impact on our sponsors' organizations. And it puts the sponsors, a lot of responsibility onto the sponsors to try to be successful. It takes a good number of you to help us be successful, and we'll try to make it as real of an organization as possible, and I think that helps the students be prepared for the real world after they're done. So it's a lot less academic and a lot more real world type environment and organization. And everything we do is kind of towards helping them learn via that real world experience and help make the project successful for that. There might be some confusion occasionally. There's another program called Design Studio, which I actually help out with as well. They're two separate programs now. We had been combining them together over the last for about 5 years. We were combining them together, and then last year we decided to split them apart because of sizing and resources and stuff, and thought it'd be easier to manage. So Design Studio is the Rake School's capstone. Senior Design is the Computer Science and Engineering capstone, but not to confuse that with College of Engineering's Senior Design. They have a Senior Design as well, which is the capstone for the other engineering programs in the College of Engineering. So there's a lot of issues with naming, and maybe we'll work on that someday, but we're going to call ourselves Senior Design, and probably more formally CSE Senior Design. That's what we're representing here. And so we do share some things with Design Studio since we were combined for about 5 years. We share a lot of the same processes with Design Studio. We share some of the sponsors. There are sponsors that do a project in Design Studio and do a project in Senior Design as well. And then some staff, actually. That's mostly just me. I split my time between Design Studio and Senior Design. So that's just to clear up the confusion. We're Computer Science and Engineering Senior Design here. All right, and it is a big organization now. We have a lot of people involved in CSE Senior Design. As of yesterday, we had 148 students signed up. That's probably going to be more close to 165 or 170 by the time school starts here in a couple of weeks. So that's be quite a few students, 170 students. And they vary in why they're there. Some of them are computer science students. A good portion of them, actually, that's the largest major that we have. Some of them are CE, which is computer engineering students. So they have a little bit more hardware-based knowledge. And then we also have the software engineering majors. And that major is a little bit unique in senior design in that the students will do 2 years of senior design as part of their software engineering curriculum and program. So they'll start at their junior year and do a year of senior design, and then their senior year they would come back and do senior design again. So this year, for the first time, we have repeat students in senior design. We'll have about 15 second year software engineering students, and then we'll have the next batch of them, I guess. The juniors, there'll be about 40 of them, I think, to start helping us out this year. So that's the first time that we'll have that in this program. So it'll be interesting. We're very excited about that, and I think it'll have a huge impact on the projects that have those second year students involved with them. We'll have about 25 projects. That was as of yesterday. We had 25 projects lined up. Most of them are sponsored projects, so thank you very much for all our sponsors. We have some faculty projects as well that will be helping them out with kind of research faculty projects. And then some that we're doing via grant funding. Those are ones, and we're expanding that this year to have 3 grant-funded projects as part of senior design. So that's exciting. I'll show you those projects here in a little bit. On the other side, we have some faculty and staff that are part of the senior design structure. We have 4 tribe leads, 3 project managers, a director, a development manager, all as kind of the core piece of senior design. We'll talk about those different roles as we go through the day today. And then we have several people that help us out that this isn't their primary job, but they help us out greatly throughout the year. So we have somebody that helps us with events like this one. So Larita Lang helped organize this event. You should thank her for the great food and all of the planning that went into getting this organized. Thank you very much. And then we have some people that help us with the contracts. We have people that help us with the billing and invoicing, those pieces that go along with it as well. And this isn't their primary job, but they help us out as well as along the way. And then we have volunteer coaches. So some of you are here today that are coaches. We have several committed right now. We're hoping to get about 25 coaches as we go through. The goal there is to have a coach per project. That's the model that we've run in the past and hope to continue this year, be able to do 1 coach per project, and that helps the team immensely. So let's see, who's here as a coach this time? Got 1, 2, 3 people here for coaches, and then who's here as sponsors? Yes. And we have some of our faculty and staff here as well. You'll raise your hands. Yeah, so quite a few different people here today to learn all about senior design. I'm going to call out too. Christy is our director. You can either stand up or raise your hand. Obviously, I think everybody knows her. She has a ton of industry experience, has been in this role since we split from Design Studio last year. She became the director of senior design, but has been with the university, with UNL for 3 years now, 4 years, 3 years. And in higher education for a lot longer than that. So she has some great experience and she'll be able to help out. So she's kind of helping me along the way here. Today she'll be doing the sponsor portion of the presentations. And then I just was going to put my name up here. I am a project manager in senior design. I've been with the university for over 14 years now, working mainly in Design Studio, but when we started to help out senior design, then I started working with this program as well. So lots of industry experience prior to coming here, and then I use that to help Senior Design and Design Studio. Like I said, I split my time across both programs. And then everyone else, this is the whole faculty and staff and helpers that we have in Senior Design. It can tell it takes a ton of people to help make this program work with all these students and all these sponsors and all these coaches. It's a lot to coordinate. So definitely thank these people for their help, and you'll interact with different ones of them along the way. Okay. Senior Design as a whole, like I mentioned, was about educating the students, and we're using this project experience to do that. So our goal is to create this educational experience where they can develop software or hardware solutions that solve some complex problem and give a real-world solution to our sponsors. And we said we have 25 projects this year, and it takes this industry partnership or this academic partnership in order to do that. And it definitely strengthens the community, strengthens the organizations that we work with, helps out the faculty with their academic problems. Let me see here. I'm going to use Melanie's staging site. This isn't quite live yet, but we have we'll soon have a list of all of our projects up and running, and so this is a start of that. We've got projects with lots of great organizations and groups that we'll be working with this year. So very excited. Thank you very much for all of your sponsorship on these projects. So yep, 25 of them right now that we're working with. Lots of university entities, of course, but lots of others as well. So 25 projects, very excited to get going on them. All right. Roles is one of the big things that you're here to learn about. How to be a sponsor, how to be a coach, who to talk to, who to ask questions of, those types of things. That's what you're here to learn about. And so this is kind of an overview of how we've structured the roles in Senior Design. We'll go over some of them in much more detail. Obviously, we want to talk about the sponsor roles in the sponsor breakout section and the coach role in the coach breakout section. But I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the support roles in general, and then work our way into the team piece of it. You can see here at the top, there's the project manager. That's one of the main roles in our system. This is the person that is the main point of contact, really, for the sponsors, the coaches, the students, for everybody that's involved in Senior Design. We'll put a project manager on each project, and they will help coordinate or facilitate a lot of those pieces. So they'll make sure that the team is following good project management practices. They'll make sure that they're having the meetings when they need to, or if the sponsor has questions about the process, that they're getting those questions answered. They'll help with a lot of the logistics of things, making sure that they have space and time for the right things. So the project managers are a crucial part of our system, and they're professional staff we've hired over the years, mostly last year actually, and they're going to be helpful to you in lots of different ways. So we have 3 project managers, myself, and then Bill Browning and Melanie Klugler-Wright are our 3 project managers for this year. If you, Bill and Melanie, want to stand up, that would be great. So you'll definitely want to get to know them, or me, I guess, as you go through. They'll be, again, your main point of contact. They'll help you out and answer any questions that you have about anything regarding Senior Design. So they'll help coordinate all of that. And this is probably our first time that we're kind of coming into the year with basically a full staff of project managers. help out. So we should be in good shape to be able to work with you throughout the year and help make your project successful. The next big support role for these teams is going to be the tribe lead, and that's the faculty mentor, essentially, the faculty that's assigned to a project. They're the ones that are really there. I kind of boil it down to grading and team instruction, but they're there to help the teams from an academic perspective, make sure that they're using what they've learned in computer science or software engineering appropriately on their projects, that they know what they need to know to do their projects successfully, that they're achieving our learning objectives that we have for the course. And along the way, then they're evaluating them and assessing them on their progress, giving them a grade for the course. So they review the activities that they're doing. They provide the guidance and direction, mostly like I consider it like small group instruction. So they're the teacher for that team in that small group setting. They help them out with either the software engineering pieces or project management or product development or whatever. And we do have a great group of tribe leads this year. In fact, we have a couple that are returning and then a couple of new ones that are just getting started with the department. So let's see, Chris and Cerruti and Jeff and Brady, I think all but Chris are here. You guys want to stand up, please? So these three plus Chris Bone, who's not here right now, these are going to be the tribe leads for the team. So you may or may not, as a sponsor, interact with them greatly. You'll certainly see them at meetings and things, but then they'll be the ones evaluating the team and helping make sure that they know what they need to know to be successful. So Chris and Brady were tribe lead last year, and so they're returning, and then Jeff and Cerruti are new this year. All right, and then like I said earlier, there's a ton of others helping us make this program work. I'm going to call out a few of them. Kyle, Deb, Larita, and Matt. They help us in different aspects along the way. Kyle in particular has been our development manager for the last year, and he does all of the technical tools, all of the processes, helps the teams make sure they have the equipment and tools they need to be successful, and all of that. He's been a great resource over the last couple of years. Kyle's right over there. He can stand up. He's done all the development management work for Senior Design. And then I mentioned Larita. She helped organize all these events, so definitely thanks for all that she does for Senior Design. And then Deb and Matt also help on the business side with the contracts and the invoicing and those pieces. We certainly couldn't do it without them, and this is not their primary job, so they've just been able to help us out and dedicated some time to us over the last years or 2 years to help make it successful. All right, coaches are another support role around the teams, and this is a critical role as well, and we'll talk about it with the coaches in particular when we get into that subsection. But I wanted to make sure everybody understands their role at a high level. They're the ones that are kind of a independent advocate for the team. They don't have any bearing on the project from a sponsoring standpoint, and they don't have any bearing on the grading from an academic standpoint. So they're there just to help the team. They're a professional mentor and support person. They can provide guidance. They can get help. They can do all of this pieces to help your team be successful. And that's usually then one per team to really get to know them and somebody they can build a relationship with and they can trust as they're growing and do all kinds of things to help them along the way. We do bring in other resources as well. So we have mentors that come in. If there's a particular technology that a team needs to learn a little more quickly, we can bring in an expert in that technology from the vast number of resources that we know of or have helped Senior Design in the past. So those are there for code reviews, or if they need to learn Xamarin or some technology, a cloud, whatever it might be, we can bring in resources for those. So that's kind of the groups that help the team around the the roles that we have defined. Primary one being the project manager, that's the big kind of point of contact. The coach is for the team specifically, the tribe lead does the academic pieces, and then we have the extra help as we need it. So the goal then is to use those support people to kind of make this sponsor team and the student team to help them kind of be as close to one team as possible. So we're trying to close that gap between the sponsor team and the student team. And we use that support that we have around them to make that possible. The team itself is meant to be a cross-functional team. Basically, they can do or handle anything that needs to be done to make their project successful. That's kind of the goal of it. It's a self-contained little team. And obviously, they're working to create the solution, deploy the solution, to define the solution as they're going along. And so they have authority to do that with the guidance of the people that are around them. We put on each of the teams, we have them elect a squad lead. And this is kind of a facilitation role primarily that helps the team be able to function more effectively, and it gives us a single point of contact when we're working with them. So if we have questions about what's going on at the team, we can go to that one person and find out the answers. They might not be the one that's responsible for that sub part, but they can go to the people on their team that do and then get the answers that we need to make to find out. So they're kind of facilitating the process. They're working through all of the logistics with their project manager. They're helping everybody stay up to date on what's going on with the project and how's the team's working. So they're the primary point of contact for the student team. And then we have two management roles. So we use these kind of at the same level. And the squad lead is usually one or the other of these. So the squad lead kind of adds on that additional responsibility of facilitation on top of either being the development manager or the product manager. The product manager is one of those students that is really responsible for what's going on. So they're there to help make sure that that the team as a whole understands the problem that the sponsor is facing and translating that into, helping the team understand what to do about it or how to solve that problem. So they're there for the what piece. They could be considered a proxy, I guess, for the sponsor when the sponsor might not be available, or in between the weekly meetings that you have with the team, they're kind of representing the sponsor, testing it, previewing it, making sure everything is appropriate for what they're trying to accomplish. And that's what the product manager is for. And this isn't a project manager. They're not just trying to do kind of organization or logistics or anything. They're there for figuring out what the solution needs to be, what the features are, what the vision is for it. Those project management tasks can be handled, either in combination with that person and the development manager, or maybe the squad lead's handling most of those. But it isn't a project management role. It's a product management role. Their responsibility is on what they need to accomplish and dealing with the product itself. So they're going to do things like build out the requirements, maybe create the vision, do the story mapping pieces of it, manage the backlog, review the features as they're getting completed, kind of sign off on those types of things. That's what that product manager's activities are going to be. And they partner again with the second role is the development manager. The development manager is the person responsible for how they're going to accomplish it. And that kind of comes in a couple different flavors, how they're going to accomplish it in terms of the architecture, the design of the solution, kind of the technical aspects, what pieces are going to go into it, and then also how they process through it. So they're going to be there to help them understand which agile practices they're going to do, help the team through those things, do all the code reviews, that type of stuff. They're going to be a leader on the team as the kind of the dev leader. So, like I said, they're going to be responsible for reviewing the pull requests, reviewing the code, making sure the conceptual integrity is there. Basically, you want to come out of it saying that this code looks like it was written by one person, even though it's been written by a team of 5 or 6 along the way. So trying to maintain that, and then working with the product manager to prioritize the things. If there's things that are risky from an architectural standpoint, they need to make sure to bring that up and bring those up to the front. Yeah. So that's kind of the student team. We have the devs, we have the product manager, the development manager. One of those two is usually the squad lead. That's the primary contact. On the sponsor side, Christy's going to cover most of that during the sponsor breakout session. So she'll talk about the product owner, the executive sponsor, those types of roles, and then how you should interact with the team related to that. So that's kind of the roles piece. We'll talk a little bit about our process. This is our relatively simple framework that we use for all of our projects. We're very release driven, so we'll talk about releases here in a little bit. But we have in this framework an initiation piece that is for the team to be able to get up to speed on who the sponsor is, what the project is, and kind of determine what they're going to do, determine the plan going forward on what they're going to accomplish. That's that initiation piece. Then we spend a lot of time in the execution, that is iterating through delivery of parts of the solution. So producing value that the sponsor wants or can have through iterations. And then we do a short closing at the end. The closing is for transition to the sponsor, so making sure that the value that was created can be utilized and kind of finalized at the sponsor's location, and then they can assess. We'll also do some assessment at that time, make sure that we understand what we've created. And all the way through this, we have releases. So you can see along the top, release 1 through 6. I also call them checkpoints. These are release points where we're actually demonstrating and defending what they've accomplished and then showing what their plan is to go forward. So I'll talk more specifically on releases here. The releases we do are set across the board. So we actually set the same release dates for all the projects in Senior Design. And these are the dates for those this year. Starting already, the first release is October 11th. It's not very long from now. It seems to be coming very quickly. And it will definitely feel that way once the team gets assigned. They'll be like frantically trying to get things done and ready for that first release. And then they're about every month after that. So October, November, and December. We do 3 in the fall, and then we have 3 in the spring, February, March, and April. Leading up to our showcase, we do a showcase in the spring. That is on May 1st in the morning from 9:30 to noon, based on my understanding at last I heard. So that's when our showcase will be this year, and actually I think it'll be back here in this building on the 1st of May, and show off all of the results from these 25 awesome projects that we're going to do this year. So, and then the semester ends very quickly right after that. So the projects will really be done by May 1st, I'm sure, and they should be able to show off quite a bit. And this, I guess, is set again for all of Senior Design. Now, we do this because we want to make sure that the teams are releasing on a regular basis. They need to release back to the sponsors. That's a big piece of having good practices and good software development, is to continually release things back to the sponsors, deliver that value that they're creating, and then learn from that. So they're doing retrospectives off these releases and making adjustments and making the next release a better release and the next release after that a better release, and continually doing that throughout their projects. So we're very release driven, and it's more than just saying it's a release. The point of these releases is to actually give something to the sponsors that they can use, not just show them a result, or just have a meeting that says, hey, we did a release, here's what we did, we'll show you quick on our computer. They actually need to produce some results that actually the sponsor can use and take and give feedback on. That's kind of the point of those. So, and it's more than just code. They're doing documentation or training materials or architectures, and they're talking about the decisions that they made and defending those as well. The the product release isn't just a meeting, it's more than that. So you don't want to confuse the release with the meeting that's set up for it. The release meeting itself is more of like a checkpoint. This is kind of your sign off and saying, yes, we're progressing. You're demonstrating what we did, sure, and they're showing what they're going to go to next, but that's not what the release is. The release of the code is actually something different. But it's very important that we have these release meetings, we have these checkpoints, that we can bring in the executives from both sides, from senior design, from the sponsoring organization, and make sure that things are progressing like they should. See what the team has accomplished, understand the decisions that they've made, and then making sure that they're planning good going forward. So those releases are an important piece of it. The release itself can be, within a week before or after that release date. Those release dates that I listed up there are on Fridays, so they can have it during the week of or the week following. They'll have a release meeting and kind of defend what they've accomplished and show where they're planning to go with it. So most of the time the releases will be on the release itself will be actually on the release date, or right close to it. Here's kind of the general theme, I guess, if you're thinking about the year as a whole. In senior design, most of that first release is just initiation and kind of get the idea of what you want to accomplish. So it isn't going to be a lot of actual code value in that first release in senior design. Then they go on, and then they can actually create some pieces onto that. So they'll add to that idea in release 2, get some of the basic functionality done in release 2. Then they're starting to create something real by the time release 3 comes around. That's the end of December, or end of the semester in December. And they'll actually have something running then, hopefully right away in the spring. And then really R5 is the longest release that we have. It's about 6 weeks long and gives them really a chance to hit everything they need to accomplish and make sure it's kind of wrapped up. They'll probably miss a few things so they can wrap that up in the R6 and start the transition process and kind of any final pieces to it. So this is kind of just the big themes, I guess, as you look at the releases as a whole, if you wanted to look at it that way. We help them with some of the tools. As I mentioned earlier, Kyle Conway, he does a great job as a development manager. He set up a lot of our tools that we use across all of our projects. We do our task management in GitHub issues. So we have private GitHub repositories for any projects that we do. And that's where we put the code repository. That's where we put our GitHub issues. That allows them to track the tasks. And we use ZenHub on top of that to help manage the task board and do some agile project management pieces on top of those issues. We have private Slack channels that we use that you can communicate with your teams with, and the team can communicate with each other, and we can communicate with the teams as well from our standpoint. If there's any servers or systems that they need, we use AWS, and we're really going to try to push that a lot this year. Last year, I don't think the teams utilized it much, but we have these things available to them and want to make sure that they take advantage of that opportunity. We use Box for file storage and document repository pieces. And then we do some evaluation and grading that we'll use some Qualtrics surveys with. So we can work with you, talk to your project manager, talk to your team, and get you access to basically any of these that you need access to. If you need access to the Box, you need access to GitHub, we can get those things for you, and you can participate with the team as much as possible. Again, we're trying to make the sponsor organization and the student team as close as possible to one cohesive unit. So that's kind of the tools that we're using for it. I do want to remind you, though, that we are academic, so we are focused on the learning. So sometimes you get in there thinking this is just contract work and these are just contractors, but they're more than that. I mean, they're students as well. So there's things that you can do with a contractor that you might not be able to do with a student, or there's things that you would do with a student that you might not do with the contractor. So you kind of have to mix and match and understand that unique relationship that we have here in this learning environment. So it's not just contract work. You can maybe get a little bit more out of it. Maybe you can get some learning yourself from this next generation, from the millennial generation, and they can inspire you or have creative ideas, give you innovative thoughts that you might not think of otherwise. And you can get more than just what your original vision is. Hopefully you get more than that as they adjust and they give ideas back and you make changes throughout the year. So, but it is a learning environment, and part of that then too might mean that things might not work quite as well as you'd hoped. You might run into some issues that you would not see in a contract environment, or a consulting environment. So that's possibly the case as well. But the main point is you bring things up, you keep things visible, you work with your project manager, the tribe lead, the staff here in senior design, and we can help you through issues along the way. A big part of that is making sure you're communicating your expectations. This is critical to help these teams understand what they need to do. And part of what we're trying to teach them, or what their learning objectives are, is to manage expectations. They're going to get a lot of expectations from the sponsors. They're going to get a lot of expectations from the faculty and staff of senior design. And they have to learn how to balance those things and know what to do and how to address them appropriately. So as you're working with them, make sure that you're giving the students clear expectations and then clear feedback on those expectations as well. So if you want to make sure if you want better release plannings or better iterations, or know what their planning and commitments are, if you want to know what their status is, make sure that you are asking for those things. Ask the team for those things, and you should expect to get them from them. Just making sure you set those expectations to understand what they're committing to, what they're planning to do, and the results of their work. Part of that will go then into the evaluation process. This is one big piece that you have as sponsors, sponsor organizations, on giving them feedback on the progress that they're making. We will have a survey that you'll get every release, and we'll ask you for feedback, and probably like a 1 to 5 rating on communication, vision, execution, and planning. And you can provide feedback on those things, say what the team's doing well, what the team's not doing well, and then we use that to help us in the grading process. We actually take your feedback, and you're just giving feedback on the team as a whole. You're not specifically calling out individuals or anything like that. You're saying, as the team is doing this as a whole. Then those feedback then is translated into points by the tribe leads. They're the ones that are actually doing the grading. You're not the ones doing the grading, and we try to stress that with the students too, but sometimes they don't understand that. But you're not the ones doing the grading. The tribe leads are the faculty. They have grading experience, and they know how to grade. So they'll take your feedback, and they'll translate that to points. Those points then are given to the students to distribute in a peer review fashion amongst themselves. That's kind of how they balance the whole to the individuals. And then those points then throughout the semester are averaged together to produce part of their grades. The tribe leads will make adjustments according to different individuals or to their perspectives on the project. But it is important that you give good quality feedback to the teams, and because that'll make a difference in them being able to make the adjustments in the next release. So if you give feedback the first release, they should be able then to make adjustments and make it better the second release. And that's the whole point of it. They want them to learn, do better, and improve as they go along throughout the year. So you're evaluating the team as a whole, and then the tribe lead makes the adjustments and helps do the individual grading piece. And last year that was about 45% of their grade. It'll probably be about the same this year. That's still a little bit up in the air yet. We're finishing that piece before school starts. So, last little parts here. Important first steps. One of the big first step for your project, and I guess I don't list this one up here actually, the very first step for your project once it gets going is we announce to everyone who the teams are and who's all involved in the teams. So you'll see, and let's see, this year we'll probably make the team announcements on September 10th. On September 10th, or probably that afternoon, you'll receive an email as a sponsor or as a coach or as a student. You'll get an email that says, okay, here's the team for Madonna. And it'll say these 5 students are on Madonna, this is your coach, this is the sponsors and who they are, and then everybody kind of gets to know who everybody's involved in the project. That kind of goes out right the day that we do a team assignments. The students find out in class, and these emails go out and then lets everybody know who's on the project. Then they can start the kickoff. That kickoff meeting is the first major piece. Those kickoff meetings will be between probably September 11th and the 20th. They have to be really organized to do it on the 11th, but they'll happen probably sometime between the 11th and the 20th. That next week and a half, after teams are assigned, they'll set up a kickoff meeting. We'll bring in everybody into the meeting. The meeting will involve the entire team, the sponsor, the coach, the faculty. And it'll probably be on campus because we have a lot of these meetings. We can't get to everywhere. After that, though, they can be on different locations. But they'll have a kickoff meeting, and the projects will be kicked off. You can express the vision of the project, get to know the team, and then start setting up the meetings to story mapping or architectural development or whatever might needs to be done. The students will drive those things, but that's kind of the main piece there. So those kickoff meetings will happen between September 11th and the 20th. At the same time, the teams will start figuring out when their team times are. We call them team times. This is when they work together as a team on the project. They work 8 to 10 hours a week outside of class time on the projects. And we have, this year in Senior Design, we have rooms that they can use. So all of the teams should be able to find that will give them a space that they can meet and sit at. They won't be dedicated to them, but they'll have a room that they can go to and meet on a regular basis every Wednesday or every Thursday or whenever they have their team times, and they'll meet as a team and work on their project. They'll also set up a weekly meeting with the sponsors that the coach can come to, that the sponsor comes to, and then kind of keep things moving throughout the semester. And we have conference rooms that are also available around campus for those meetings, or if they come to your location a few times, depending on where you're located at, and have them there as well. The kickoff meeting we'll actually have, like I said, here on campus, probably between 9 and 5, so that way it's easy for faculty and staff and business people to get there. But we'll also have that be business formal, so they'll actually dress up for those first meetings, just to kind of show the importance of it and make sure that they understand, kind of kick it off in the right mindset. So,
Jeremy?
Yes?
Just out of curiosity, where are the team working spaces?
Oh, they are all over. Some are still being finalized, but we have some, I think, in Pound Hall. That was just redone. And then we have some limited space in Avery. And then I think we're working with another space yet. Oh, yes, Emerging Media Arts, the center. Oh, Brace Lab. Yep, there's Brace Lab as well. So Brace Lab and Shore. I forgot about Shore. So yes, we have them all over campus. There's spaces that.
That was why I asked, because it's been a moving target. It got solved.
It's a difficult problem to solve, and we solved it by providing spaces in like 5 different places. So it should be enough for the teams to meet, and then we're going to have them make sure that when they do team times, they're doing team times in one of our locations that they can ensure that they're meeting. And then if we go and visit them during their team times, we can ensure that they're there. So, did you have a question too? Oh, I thought you might have. Okay. Other questions? I'm sorry, I haven't paused very much. I'm nearly done now, but go ahead. 5 to 6 persons, students per team. Yes. So we target about 5.5. So half of the teams will have 6, and half the teams will have 5.
So I expect that you're not going to try to rotate team lead at all. It's the same.
No, it is for the whole year. We have and that's self-selected. So there's a squad lead that's self-selected from within the team, and we'll give them some guidance on what the characteristics of that role are and what the properties and what activities they do. But they self-select a team lead, and that stays the same throughout the year unless, sometimes there's things that come up and they might end up switching leads, or if a development manager has something come up and they decide that they don't want to be development manager anymore, then they'll bring somebody else in as development manager, that type of thing. We have a few teams that'll switch those management roles occasionally, but that's certainly not the case across the majority of the teams. Good question. Yeah. A couple other things just to think about, and I don't know how much of an issue it is, but students can't be like employed by their sponsor that they're on. So like if they're working for, I'll use Madonna again. If they can't be like an intern, have an internship during the school year at Madonna while they're working on the project for Madonna, that would be a big conflict of interest. So just that, if you have any students that are already working for you, we don't want that to be a conflict. And then I think, like I said, we'll post some of this stuff on the website. So I think we probably already worked with you quite a bit on getting logos and just approving some of that content along the way. So the first 3 weeks of school are going to look like this. Since it is a class, we'll actually go through the syllabus and then kind of do some orientation pieces for them during the first week, the first Tuesday and Thursday. And then we get a day off, Monday the 2nd. The second Tuesday and Thursday, we're doing the sponsor rollout. And Christy's going to talk quite a bit about that when she has her sponsor section. So you'll learn about what you want to do there and how that's going to work and what the schedule is for that. That's going to happen over a 2-day period this year. Since we have a lot of projects, we want to give the students an opportunity to see a good number of them over those and see which ones they'd be interested in. So we'll do that over a 2-day period on the 3rd and 5th of September. And then we will have them submit their preferences to us, and then we'll do team assignments based on those preferences already on the 10th, the following Tuesday. And that should be then when you can kick off and start learning about, we'll send the massive email that says everybody involved in this project. So, very good. Are there questions?